Most mornings this week were foggy, and so it was nice and cool, but by about 10 o'clock the fog was kind of burned off and it started getting hotter, and so by afternoon we were hot and sweaty, but still cooler than it has been. Sterling, so we worked on getting the vapor barrier and then the roof up on top of it. A bit challenging. We were able to do it from inside the building at first and get the plywood up on through the wood up there, the beams, and try to lift it up and get it in place. A little challenging, but it got a little bit harder when we got on the end. Sterling was on the scaffolding, and we would hand it through the wall, and he would have to take the whole thing and try to lift it. Steve would kind of have one end of it and lift it up onto the corner of the scaffolding, and then Sterling had to kind of balance and swing it up on top of the beams up there. Anyways, a bit challenging, and then you'll see here we have Sterling nailing it down, and you can see how it gets shorter and shorter, so you couldn't get the nail gun down there. Anyways, he was able to nail enough of it down to hopefully hold it down. And here's another picture of him nailing it in. Then we worked on the electrical. So Steve, we were going to go out and work on insulation, I think, but he said, I need to check the electrical boxes. Well, it turns out we had about 20 boxes that didn't work. No, the outlets didn't work. And so we had to go around figuring it out, what wasn't working from the line, because Brian said everything was all hooked up. But we found that if one box was out, then everything past it wouldn't work either. So we had to figure out where it wasn't working, what was hooked to what. Thankfully, we didn't have insulation and sheetrock out. We figured out to do this. So we spent most of the day redoing boxes. And in one place, it wasn't even hooked up to the electrical boxes. They were just all wired together, and there was no line that went to the boxes. So Steve had to put an extra line in, get it run to an outlet that was working. Anyways, that took us almost the whole day. We did do a few other things that day, but mostly electrical. And here you can see some of the electrical lines that we were working on. All right, I'm upstairs. All right. Then we did sheetrocking on the ceiling. We had started it last week, but we continued and we finished the upstairs. And anyways, this is upstairs finishing things off in one of the rooms up there. This was really challenging. This is the small room, the small storage area, and you can see that support beam that goes through. So we had to figure out a way to get the sheetrock up and underneath that beam, that support beam, and then get it stapled in. Anyways, that was pretty challenging to figure out how to do that. Anyways, but you can see we have most of it done, but we have an area that slopes up and then it's a flat area, and we had to figure out that. So this one was a little bit tricky to get done. And they're just finishing up the last part on here. Now we're downstairs, and you can see here that we have this vent that Sterling had to kind of lift up to get, anyways, push it up and kind of get it out of the way so we could get the sheetrock up. Then came the plywood. This piece that Steve is pointing at here, we put it, Steve cut it out, we put it up, we took it down. We put it up, we took it down. Put it up, take it down. And I think that happened about 6 times until he got the cuts right. But that was, anyways, we finally did get that one in. And there's that wall finished. We have to wait on the next wall. There'll be 2 of them with plywood. And that next wall, we have to wait till a gas line is put in. And anyway, so that one's going to wait a little bit longer. So then we worked on the vapor barrier for the building to enclose it, and then it will have metal over it, but we got this vapor barrier all put up. Well, I helped Sterling in the morning to get it started, and then I went to work on insulation, and Steve came out and helped Sterling finish. And then there was insulation. This didn't happen all in one day. Did a little bit more. Anyway, Saturday night I was determined to finish it. We had gone to do a few other things, take Sterling out to Jamesport, which is an Amish town, and show him some of the stores that they have up there. When we came home, we were all pretty tired, but I decided I was going to go out and finish, and I was able to finish the last few bits of insulation upstairs. And there's the upstairs and that great big batting. You can see that one unit right there kind of in the middle of one of the areas. We had run out of none of the other batting that had vapor barrier behind it was wide enough to put there, so we had this left over from the building, and I was able to cut it and get it put in there. And then Steve and Sterling put in this metal. There's a little metal strip right there. They had to get that put in because these are going to be metal walls, just like the outside of the building and the inside of the building, the metal building. It's going to be metal walls inside on these 2 walls, and that one needed something to support the metal to screw into at the bottom. And finally we went to Dee's. She has all her new cabinets, and if you remember, we took her cabinets out and she had new ones installed and has a new stove and a new sink, and anyways, it looks really nice. She just needs to put the backsplash in. And this just shows how our days often ended looking at the beautiful sky. It's almost every night there's just a beautiful sunset. And I took this picture and then turned around, literally just took a few steps and took a picture of the moon. So they were both happening at the same time. The sun was setting and the moon was coming up. It was just gorgeous. That was our week.